Hello and welcome everyone to the Ilisarniq series workshop on applying to Kajungiqsaut Grants. My name is Paige Connell. I'm the awards manager at the Inuit Art Foundation and I live in Toronto. Although we are all joining remotely from across North America today, I would like to acknowledge the land on which the Inuit Art Foundation is currently located. It is on the ancestral and traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat, the original owners and custodians of this land. Today, this is the place that is home to many, including a diverse urban Indigenous community of Inuit, First Nations, and Métis. And we can move on to some introductions. So I've introduced myself in that intro, but I'll pass it off to Kyle.
Thanks, Paige. My name is Kyle Aleekuk. I'm the program officer at the Inuit Art Foundation. I'm a bit of an artist. My family is from Uluhuktuk and Inuvik, and I currently live in Edmonton, Alberta, Treaty 6 territory. And I'll hand it off to Telrumik.
Hi, really happy to be here. My name is Dala Romik. My English name is Christina Grubin King. I am Inuvialuk and Gwich'in. I was raised in Dukduyakdur, Tuktoyaktuk, and I also have family from Aklavik. I am currently based in northern BC in Terrace, traditional unceded Tsimshian territory. And I'm really happy to be here with you today.
So we'll start off for everyone with a bit of a program overview about Kajungiqsaut Grants. This program is a fairly new funding initiative for us that is dedicated to supporting Inuit work in the arts. It's been co-developed in partnership with Canada Council for the Arts, and this is its second year iteration. The first cycle was launched at the beginning of this year, as some of you might know. So we've just relaunched it for the second iteration, and it'll go over into 2024. These grants are accessible, culturally relevant funding that support Inuit creatives to pursue their many and multifaceted ambitions. And it's especially great for first-time applicants. Kajungiqsaut Grants values self-determination, skills development, and that crucial time that all artists need to dream, grow, and create all of the wonderful things that artists love to work on. So there's 3 streams for these grants, and Danielle, if you wouldn't mind popping up the first slide. So there's 3 streams for the grants: Sutaratit, Inakarvik, and Tuargak. The first stream, Sutaratit, means to gain materials, and those are grants for $500 or $1,000. And this is specifically for visual artists living outside of Ontario. And it's for the purchase of artistic materials. And that can include, sorry, just a second. That can include hunting tools for gathering natural materials. It can also go towards travel costs for gathering those natural materials and the delivery costs for transporting or shipping the materials that you're looking to get. And I will also mention that this particular stream is it builds on our existing partnership with the Indigenous Visual Artist Materials Grant that is run by the Ontario Arts Council. So if you live inside of Ontario and are looking to apply for a grant to purchase materials, you must apply to the Ontario Arts Council's Indigenous Visual Artist Materials Grant. Sutaratit is our way of bringing that opportunity to the rest of the country outside of Ontario. So I just wanted to specify that. And the deadline for Sutaratit is upcoming. It's on December 11th of this year, and it's at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So just make sure that you've got the time zones correct there so that it's coming in at the right time for Eastern time from wherever you live. And then I'll move on to the Inukarvik stream, which means to have space. And those are grants for $3,500. And this is for artists and arts workers from all creative disciplines across Canada. So it's a bit more open in the parameters there. And it's for small scale proposals for things like experimentation. If you work in one medium, but you really wanted to try something new, this is a great opportunity to apply for that grant and explore something new. Also for things like research, starting or finishing new projects or work that you had in mind. And that deadline is January 29th of 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time again. And Tuargak is the third stream, and that's larger grants of $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000. You can choose what level works best for you and your project. And again, this is open to artists and arts workers from all creative disciplines across the country. And this is geared towards larger scale proposals that demonstrate artistic vision. So it's really focused on vision and large projects. Yeah, we want to see proposals that are demonstrating artistic vision and clear outcomes, and show some of those big thoughts and ideas coming through in the proposal. So the general eligibility for this program is that you must be Inuk and living in Canada with citizenship, permanent residence, or refugee status. You must be at least 18 years or older, have specialized training in your artistic discipline, and that doesn't necessarily include academic accreditation. It's not a requirement. And that we like to see that you are committed to continually furthering your artistic practice. All right, and now Kyle, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about the options for submission.
Absolutely. So there's options for submission for all three of the streams. You can either email, and the email is grants@inuitartfoundation.org. You can fax in, you can mail in, like physical mail, snail mail. You can submit a audio recording of your application, or you can phone me. We'll put my contact information in the chat. So those are across all three streams. Again, that's email, fax, mail, spoken submission, or you can call me. Get into required application materials for each of the streams. For Sutarutit, applications must include an artist bio of 250 words max, a proposal description of 1 page max, examples of your work. So for Sutarutit, choose up to 8 images of your best work. And along with that, of course, we'll need the completed and signed application form. For Inukarvik, basically the same thing. We'll need an artist bio, 250 words max, an artist statement, also 250 words max, a project description, 1 page max. And for Inukarvik, you can choose up to 10 examples of your best work. And obviously the signed and completed application form. For Tuargak, this one's a little more detailed of what we're asking for. So again, artist bio, 250 words max, an artist statement, 250 words max. This one will need an artist CV, That can be up to 3 pages, and a proposal description of up to 2 pages. Now, for Turigaq, we're also asking for a budget. And with Turigaq, you can choose up to 15 images of your best work. So those are the requirements across each stream.
Just before we move on, I just wanted to also note that this year we did make an addition to the Inuit requirements, and so there is a budget component to that stream as well this year.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, there is a document that we have created called a helpful hints document that will be linked on each application form. It's also on our website. This is a great document. It goes into detail about each section of the application. It gives you tips to putting together your application. And I'm also always here. You can also contact me if you have any problems or need assistance with your application form. So each stream is weighted a little bit differently, but basically each stream is based off of artistic merit, viability and outcome, and quality of application. So artistic merit, you're demonstrating the quality of work in your proposal. Your support materials demonstrate artistic quality and, like Paige mentioned before, dedication to continuing your practice. Viability and outcome. So we want you to clearly articulate the intended use of the funds and the proposed use of funds, and yeah, just making sure that they're eligible based on the program's guidelines. And quality of application, we're asking you to, write your application very clear and concise, efficiently use the allotted word count. Your support materials demonstrate professional quality as best as you can. And all of your necessary documents and files are provided. Now, if you submit an application form and it's incomplete, I will notify you and we'll give you 24 hours to complete your submission. Otherwise, if you don't, your application will be considered incomplete and won't be reviewed by the peer assessors. And on that note of assessments, the assessment process it's an external all Inuit peer assessment committee whose members represent diverse fields and practices within the broader Inuit arts community. I assemble those. They will be reviewing application forms and making the recommendations for people to get funding. And also, if you'd like to become a peer assessor, you can also contact me about that. And that won't, if you plan on applying to Kajungiqsaut Grants, but also want to be a peer assessor, we can make that happen too. So no worries there. I think that's about it for the assessment process.
But yeah, maybe we can ask Talrimik some questions about her experience with the grants.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to ask you, you received a Kajungiqsaut grant during the last cycle. Was this your first time applying for a grant? Not just this grant, but any grants in general?
This was probably the first time I applied for a grant for this amount. I had applied for smaller ones from other organizations before, But this round, I applied for the Inuit, the $3,500 grant to get materials. And to my surprise, I was successful and they approved my application. And do you want me to go over kind of what I did in my application or?
Yeah, that'd be great. If you're willing to share, I'd love to hear about it.
Okay, yeah. So I carefully went over the guidelines and tried to hit every requirement. I know writing a bio can be very difficult for some people, and I believe they can accept a video submission. If not, I would suggest accessing your Inuit Art Quarterly bio. I know that on their website they keep like a bio and a page for every artist. So there's a resource so you don't have to rewrite your whole bio. I have a working document where I have an extra short, a short, and a long bio. So I have a 50-word bio, a 200-word, and then like a 500. So if you have that document, you can just kind of rewrite it and re-edit for various applications. Um, and then another part of my application, what I did to show that I'm serious and that these funds would go toward what I said they would, I had a detailed budget. So I researched the things that I wanted to purchase. I put the price along with taxes and every single item that I thought I would purchase with this grant. And it totaled more than the grant amount, but I also stated that I would fill in any extra money just to show that I'm serious and that I'm committed to getting my required materials and supplies. Um, Something else that's helpful is to include a quote. If you can get a quote from like an art supply or a fur business or whatever your materials are to show the price breakdown. So then the granting committee will see that you did your research and you're serious about these funds, that they are indeed going to go toward your art practice. Um, yeah, I think that's it for now. Are there any more questions or guidelines that I can go over?
No, I think that was great, especially the part about the bio and using your IAQ profile if you have one, to use as your bio. I've definitely done that in the past before. And if you don't have an IAQ profile, you can definitely sign up to get one. Um, Highly recommend that. And you can also you'll also get a profile when you sign up for the portal, which is huge. Um, but another question I'd like to ask you is, maybe tell us about your overall experience in applying to Kajungiqsaut grants, like the application process. Yeah, just kind of start to finish. How did you feel about it all?
It can be a bit daunting. It's a lot of paperwork, but I suggest start early. You don't have to do it all in one day. That's a lot of work to gather all the required information. So again, just go over the criteria and the guidelines and pick one thing a day to do it. And once you have everything compiled, uh, you can either ask a trusted friend, or I know in the Inuvialuit settlement region, they have employment officers at all the community corporations to help you with this sort of stuff. So there's a resource for Inuvialuit. I'm not sure how it works in other Inuit regions. But yeah, just a little bit every day, gather all your information. And before you submit, try to find a trusted friend or advisor or someone from your regions like Art Council or Development Corp to kind of help you look over your application. And they did mention that Kyle is available too to help with applications before you submit. So even though it seems like a big document and process to get it all together, just break it down, do one step a day, start early so you're not rushed. Find your best images. Sometimes you can use images that other people have taken of your work as long as you credit them. Um, and yeah, I think just doing all that, starting early, take your time, will really help you build a great application.
Yeah, I would echo that. And just highlighting to just take your time, be patient with yourself in your application form, constantly review it, have somebody else review it. It's extremely important to get other eyes on your application form. And yeah, just making sure that you're as detailed as possible. And like you said, you really want to show the jury that you're serious about it. So being as detailed as possible, it shows that initiative. So I think, yeah, those are really great points that you made. Was there anything that you found particularly challenging about applying to the grants? I know grants in general are daunting. It seems like you really want to like study the criteria and all of the what the granting organization is asking of you. But how did you feel in terms of Kajungiqsaut Grants? What was your biggest challenge?
I guess one of the biggest challenges was just being comfortable with my final application. Not leaving everything till the last minute, which sometimes I do that, and I don't recommend that either. And just as you said, putting as much detail as possible. So for example, if you're a painter and you need to buy new paints and brushes, put the brand name, the size of the tube, and the price. Like every details like that can really help, rather than just saying new paint. Again, just to show you're like quite serious that these funds will go toward art supplies as they're intended. And I was comfortable to apply for this because it's dedicated to Inuit artists, and the selection committee is an all Inuit jury. So it removes some of the barriers for us to access this funding. We're not, I don't like to say competing, but we're not, applying with hundreds of other artists. It's like all Inuit, meant for Inuit. And I just want to say too that if your application is not successful, don't give up. Sometimes there are just other applications that had more detail, that were a bit stronger. And even if you don't get it, it's a learning experience. So now you have this experience for next time. You can go over your application to see where it could use improvement or more detail. Maybe rewrite the vision so that when the committee who's selecting the recipients, they read your vision and they can see it and they can feel it. So those are my recommendations. I have failed many, many times at projects, applications. I've been denied for a lot of things, but I don't give up. I just keep going. And if you continue, just keep trying, you will, find the right opportunities and resources meant for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just giving yourself a chance and just throwing yourself out there, just believing that you can do it, especially if it's your first time applying to any grant. This one in particular, yeah, if you don't get it, I just want to encourage people that, there's always next time. You can always build off of what you learned from this experience. You can really, hash out your proposal and your ideas. And you can even bounce ideas off of your peers or myself, and I can help, maybe clarify things for you, and you can put that into your application for next time. And again, like you said, it's a learning experience either way, if you get it or not. So I guess, your opinion for the most useful advice that you could share to first time applicants would be to just don't get discouraged and just try. Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to apply, because that's what these grants are there for. Just you have to take the courage and really put yourself out there. And even if you feel like your application is not perfect, but you're doing your very best, just submit it anyway. And I just saw some questions in the chat. I know one was talking about putting references. Would any referencing help your work? And I'm not particularly sure what you mean. Is if you put in your CV like references of other people who can vouch for your work, that's fine. But also if you've been mentioned in any news articles or social media posts by arts organizations, or if you've been in a fashion show or an arts market or an art gallery show, put all that in your artist CV. And a CV is just basically a list of your accomplishments as an artist, any related education or workshops that you've done, basically any of your achievements. And I find too that it's good to keep a working document as you get noticed or mentioned in different news sources. Keep a copy of those links added to this document so you're not scrambling at the last minute.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I will just remind people that we only require a CV for Tourigak. And but yeah, it's important to have a, up-to-date, concise CV. And I think it's smart that you have a working document that you can just keep adding to, especially for somebody as busy as yourself, constantly adding to it. But yeah, it's like a resume. A great way to just kind of keep track of and display everything that you've been involved in, awards, commissions, and that sort of thing. I see we have another question about details of phone call submissions. Yeah, you can just call me and I'll fill out the application on your behalf. It will be recorded, and then that audio file will be added as part of your application. That's pretty much it.
I see one of the questions says, could you describe what a proposal, description, budget, and CV look like, or what they're looking for in these documents? For me, the proposal description is you're answering sort of like the who, what, when, where, why, and how much. So covering all these questions for your project. So you're going to tell the committee, like you're going to write this down, who is this project for and who is it by? Like, is it just you? Will you have an assistant? Will you involve youth or elders? What is this project? So try to be very concise. So for example, creating an art mural to be displayed at our community hall. So very concise. Where will this project be happening? Does it require travel? Like say, for example, going on a day trip in a boat with elders to go pick berries, or, who, what, when will this happen? What dates do you have planned for this? How many weeks do you think this project will take? Why is this important? So why do you want to have this project complete? Why do you want to include youth? Why is it important to have elders involved in your project? Or why is this an important part of your art practice? And the how much, that would relate to your budget. So again, just every detail you can include, like brand name, size, item, price, quantity, taxes. Are you willing to fill in any extras out of your own pocket to get all the required materials? And one thing I would suggest is when you're budgeting, go beyond the grant amount. Then I feel personally like you're more likely to get the full amount. That's just something I've learned over the years. Don't under budget, but maybe over budget might be a little better.
Yeah. And like you were saying with the proposal description, it's basically everything that's involved in the project that you want to happen, and the exact use of funds. So the description of, what you're going to be using these grant funds for. I think, yeah, just being as detailed as possible and concise, like you said, extremely important. And
And I
there
think,
was other, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna also add like to also try and best describe like your desired outcomes of the project in addition to that.
Yeah, not only like the vision for the project, but the outcome and perhaps the impact of the project is really important to touch on too. And was there another part of that question where it was, yeah, proposal description, budget, and CV? We do have a workshop on writing a CV because that one seems to get a lot of questions surrounding it. It's CV is basically just a list of everything that you've been involved in, including like name and contact details. You want to list your website and social media on there. If you've been involved in any like solo or group exhibitions, and again with details like including the year of the exhibition, the name, the gallery, the location. You want to list if you're part of any collections, if you've been awarded anything in the past. Yeah, if you've been involved in press or publications, commissions, residencies, if you have any sort of gallery education, and education related to your arts practice, those sorts of things. And then I guess the other thing that is an artist statement. We're asking for an artist statement in both Inukarvik and Turigak. And that one is more, you want to think about an artist statement as more about your art and not about you. That's what your artist bio is for, is describing who you are as a person and who you are as an artist. But an artist statement is about, the direction of your work, where you envision it going. It's like an explanation of your style and your approach and your philosophy, subjects and themes that you touch on. Not, yeah, it's more of it like an explanation of the intention of your work. Like, questions you can ask yourself is, why do you like to make art? What subjects do you prefer? Or, why do you explore these subjects and themes? So I hope that answers that question. Yeah. Another question I would like to ask Talrumik. What does it mean to you having an all Inuit peer assessment committee review and assess the applications for Kajungiqsaut grants?
Having an all Inuit assessment peer reviewed committee, it gives me comfort because it removes that barrier where, someone from outside your culture really trying to explain your project or your art practice or who you are. There's a level of comfort because they're from the same or similar culture where they have that innate understanding of Inuit way of being, how we operate as Inuit artists. So it's really encouraging knowing that it's going to be my peers, other Inuit artists who are going to be assessing. And even if the application is not successful, they can provide some really good feedback either on the application process or other aspects of my application. And this is all coming from a place to help each other, to encourage and uplift each other. So that's something that I never really experienced before, having just dealing with all people from the same culture or same cultural background. It's new. It's a new experience for me, but it's really wonderful. And I'm glad to see this program exists for Inuit artists.
Yeah, it makes it special in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Having, yeah, other Inuit assess your application form, whether you're successful or not, and just building that relationship and, um, you know, accepting their feedback and, like you said, helping each other. That's what it's all about. And you've also been a peer assessor for the Kajungiqsaut Grants, and that was something I touched on earlier. Is if you would like to be a peer assessor for these grants, but also apply to these grants, that's completely possible. You'll be on a peer assessment committee on a stream that you're not applying to, so there's no conflict of interest there. You're not assessing your own application, so to speak. But from that experience, what would you say are the top 3 things that make a great application form, and what does it make, how does it stand out?
Yeah, I had the privilege to be part of a peer assessment committee. It was for the Turagak grant, and that was a huge learning experience for me as well. It was really great to learn from the other committee members. And I have to say that it was a really tough thing because you want to approve everybody because you believe in all the Inuit artists who are submitting. You want to help them all. But unfortunately, because of budget constraints, you can only select the top applicants. And it's nothing personal. It came down to the details and the vision and how well they wrote about their plan. So I just want to kind of emphasize that it's nothing personal uh, if you don't get a grant. But again, yeah, the 3 things that stood out for me in these applications were the vision. Reading the application, could I envision what the artist is envisioning? Were they able to successfully write about and take me along and really believe in their journey of what they wanted to achieve? The second thing was the amount of details. That really helps the committee, the deciding committee, to see that they're serious, that they thought of every single detail, all the what ifs, which really strengthened their application. And then the third thing is, I guess, the why, why they're doing this project. And that's part of the artist statement, like the purpose of this art project, its importance, either for the artists or their community or our culture. Those were things that really stood out for me. And sometimes there's a committee, so sometimes while I might feel that this was a really strong application, other committee members might feel differently. So we met for days, all day meetings, really discussing and hashing out. And at the end, it just came down to details. So the more detailed, the more concise your vision, those are things that are going to help you strengthen your application.
Yeah, being a peer assessor, I could see, gives you really great insight onto the other side of applying to grants, and just the assessment process as a whole. And in turn, you can learn something from that for future grant applications, even outside of Inuit Art Foundation. So yeah, I think, yeah, exactly what you said. Now, from your perspective, what would you say are the benefits of a grant program being dedicated to Inuit artists?
Having this dedicated program really shows that there's support for Inuit artists, that it's possible to make a viable living, creating art, despite all the barriers that Inuit face, and having a dedicated stream of funding, you know, shows that there is support, there is organizations and people to believe in us as artists and what we are doing. So it's very encouraging, especially for, you know, like young upcoming artists. There's so many more resources now than there has ever been. So it's just wonderful. I'm really pleased to see that, you know, there's another round this year, and I encourage everyone to apply, because if we don't get enough applicants, then, you know, there's potential that this funding might not be there for the future. So if there's interest and growing interest every year, you know, this program could potentially expand to support more artists.
Yeah. From personal experience, just applying to a grant and just believing in yourself and knowing that there's money out there, you know, just go for it. Just apply. It could lead to, you never know where it could lead you, you know. Saying yes to this opportunity can open up many more doors in the future. You may build the confidence to apply for like Canada Council funding, you know, something, you know, just bigger. And yeah, you just never know where it can lead you. So yeah, I would also encourage everybody to put in an application and just give yourself a shot.
And I third that sentiment. Yeah, we'd love to see applications from everyone, and just want to like emphasize that we want to give you funds to complete your projects. That's what these grants are for. And so yeah, if you don't take the chance and apply, then you never know. So why not do it and see what happens, and share your visions with everyone. Yeah, we want applications from all of you.
I just wanted to address, there was a comment in the chat about someone said, well, I just sew and I don't write essays, you know, when it comes to the bio and writing the, filling out the application. This is something I know very well from my teaching experience at Inuit. We were, you know, we shared our history and our stories orally. We didn't have to write things down. And I find that we are very strong orally. So I'm really happy to see that this grant program allows you to do like a telephone application. Like if you call up Kyle and tell him, you know, about your bio and your art practice, he can fill it in for you. So it's really nice that they make these alternative ways to do your application. And as a peer assessor, one of the applications we received was from an elder, and I believe they just had someone help them. They recorded just an audio recording of their bio and their art practice and their vision. So we saw a variety of applications. Please don't let the fact that, you know, you feel you're not a strong writer, that's okay. You're strong in other ways, and there's adaptations, or they're willing to be flexible with how they receive your application.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to the phone call submissions, yeah, if you call me and you want to do a over the phone application, I will record the conversation and then I will transcribe it into a document afterwards, but I will also include the recorded phone conversation that we had, so the peer assessors can also hear that. Or the other option is, you know, most people have a phone. You can hit record on one of those applications and you can, you know, verbally yeah, you can do your artist bio or your statement or whatever the requirements are on the application form. You can do that in a recorded version and then just email that to me. So there's options.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever's going to work best for you and you're most comfortable with. And you can speak with Kyle about what some of those options are. And he can help you figure it out. I'm just going through the chat to see if there's any questions that haven't been covered already. We've got a question. Can we apply to more than one stream? Currently, no. You can only apply to one. So choose whichever you think is going to best suit your project, and be like the appropriate amount of funds, and then apply to that stream.
I just want to address the comment I saw, like how people like to hear your background life story, like for example, Dragon's Den and other programs. I agree. But there's a time and a place where you're going to have this space to tell these stories. And this is where going through the criteria, make sure you hit all those points, and you'll have a chance to share these stories that are important to you. And, you know, like your life story can be very inspiring, and that can come out later when, you know, you're presenting your art project or you're doing an artist talk, that sort of thing. But yes, I agree. I love hearing everyone's stories, and it is so inspiring. Like Inuit artists are just out of this world. That's why we're in the circumpolar region. We're so out of this world.
Hence your background. But yeah, I definitely agree. The hearing people's stories, it really puts things into context for peer assessors, and that's what your artist biography is for. You can include those things in your artist biography. So yeah, we want to hear stories like that.
I think all of the questions that came in through the Q&A have been answered.
The question in the chat about including video. I'm not entirely sure about that question. If that's like a video recording of like you speaking, and it's your bio or your proposal description, or if it's some of your artistic examples as video. But either way, I think is fine.
Yeah, if artistic examples, like video artistic examples, is what best represents your work, then absolutely include that as part of your application. And yeah, I think like because we're accepting audio recordings for submission, if you'd rather like record yourself kind of like this, submitting rather than just like recording your voice, then that would be totally fine as well, as long as the file is like the right size to be emailed. Then I don't see an issue with that.
If I may just address the video one. As a peer assessor, we did see applications that had video components. Some of them were basically submitting this sort of documentary type. So you just need to say the timestamp, like where to start watching, say at 3 minutes and 30 seconds up to 5 minutes and 10 seconds. That's the clip you want the jury to see. And for me personally, as an applicant to the other grant, I did include some of my TikTok videos where the video was just showing different aspects of my work, like, you know, the close-ups and explaining it, and they were very short, under a minute. So there can be video components as long as it's about your work and following the guidelines in the application criteria.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, we do have, like, in the application, along with submitting your examples, whether those are images, videos, or audio or written materials, we do have a section in all of the applications where we ask you to list out what those examples are that you've included. And those are, filling that out is a requirement, and it's super helpful for the peer assessors to see what it is you've submitted. So it should include a name of the piece if you have one, what the medium is, and if dimensions are applicable, tell us how big it is. But it helps sort of organize your application so the peer assessors are able to correlate okay, this is what this image is, and be able to see all the details about it. So just take your time and make sure that you're filling out that piece of the application as well. So there's as much detail about the examples you're including as possible. And then I think we had a question about whether folks from Alaska are eligible. Currently, no, it's only Canadian citizens that are eligible. But I don't know if that will change in the future. But for now, it's only Canadian citizens. We did get a couple of questions come in through our Instagram when we asked people to submit any questions that they had. So maybe we can touch on some of those. One that came in was, can this be used to fund a project currently in process? The answer to that is yes. These grants can be put toward a project that's currently in process. It doesn't have to be something that you haven't necessarily started. If you're in the middle of something, or if it's work that you've wanted to finish for a long time, you can still include that in your proposal and put that grant towards that project. And we've had this question a couple times. Can you apply again if you received a grant in the last cycle? Yes, you can, but we need to have received your final report for your completed activities from your last proposal. So you won't be eligible unless we've received your final report from your last project. And if it works out that like your activities aren't going to be completed in order, like in time to apply to this cycle, that's okay. You can always apply again the next time, and hopefully the timing will work out a bit more. But we also wanted to remind you that you are also eligible for Canada Council funding through the Creating, Knowing, Sharing program. So please make sure to check out what they have available. And hopefully there's some funding there that can be applicable to your project.
And I will say they have lots of money, so go for it.
They do have lots of money. So yes, go take advantage of that. And then we also had another question come in saying, photography is my passion. I haven't sold anything yet. Is that a barrier to this funding? No, not having sold your work is not a requirement for receiving any of these grants. We value artists applying to this funding at any stage in their careers. And that may mean that some people have sold their work, some people may have not, but it's not a criteria that peer assessors are looking at to determine who will receive a grant. So please don't worry about that. Dates for final decisions, is that sometime in February? For the Sutaruti stream, which has the upcoming deadline of December 11th, successful applicants, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. You will hear either way, whether you've received a grant or not, but those decisions will be notified around the beginning of February. But for the other two streams that just recently launched, the deadline for that is January 29th. So you'll probably hear the results around like the beginning of March-ish. So keep an eye out for those.
There is one question in the Q&A.
Oh.
If someone had a literary project in mind, like a book, what stream would you recommend and why?
Well, that would be eligible under either Inukarvik or Tuargak, because Sutaruti is strictly for visual artists. So I would look at either Inukarvik or Tuargak. And I think it would really come down to determining what amount of funding you think you need to complete that project. That will sort of inform your decision of which stream you'll apply to. Because in Inukarvik, you're limited to $3,500, but Tuargak, if you think it's probably going to take a bit more funding, you've got options of either $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 to put towards that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
all the questions I can see.
Yeah, I think so. Great questions, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and if you have any questions that sort of come up after the fact, once you've absorbed all of this information that we've given you, please reach out to us, and we can answer them outside of this workshop. So yeah, I guess we'll say we've reached the end for today. Thank you so much to all of our panelists for joining, and to everyone who attended. And also thank you to Inuit Futures in Arts Leadership for partnering with the Inuit Art Foundation on this workshop. And we also want to thank RBC Emerging Artists for their generous support of this programming. And just a couple of reminders for our attendees to please join us for the upcoming meet and greet that we have happening on December 7th. It's the last one for 2023, so we'd love to see you there. And also to keep an eye on our website for what's in store for next year and all of the workshops that will be coming up. And to check out our artist portal if you haven't already. We'd love to see you as part of that community as well. And one last announcement for everyone. Just want to let you know that La Guilde in Montreal is currently seeking submissions from Northwest Territories artists for their upcoming show Spring Break. It currently says that the deadline to submit has passed, but they're still accepting submissions. So I would just, if you're interested, I would try and get a submission in as soon as possible, perhaps like end of the week as a goal. But yeah, I just wanted to share that opportunity with everyone. So yeah, thanks so much again, and we hope everyone has a great rest of your day.